The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. I'm Liz Purnell, an Education and Training Specialist with the Institute of Child Nutrition. Welcome to the Team Up Thursdays webinar on Teaming Up for Farm-to-School Success. The Institute of Child Nutrition, along with its Applied Research Division, has collaborated with USDA to develop Team Up for School Nutrition Success. Team Up is a unique learning experience designed to enhance the operation of school nutrition programs. It provides tailored technical assistance to programs that want to maintain a healthy environment and increase student meal program participation. As a follow-up to the Team Up pilot workshop back in 2014, a monthly webinar series was launched. It serves as a platform to further enhance partnerships and to provide an opportunity for all school nutrition professionals to discuss issues and provide solutions and best practices used in districts in key areas. The ICN has created a website for all materials and resources specifically related to Team Up. You can find the information at www.theicn.org/teamup. Thank you for joining today's webinar, where our panel of experts will share strategies and best practices for planning and organizing successful farm-to-school programs. You will hear valuable information from two farm-to-school coordinators who will share their experiences on how they effectively plan, organize, and create engaging and meaningful farm-to-school programs. USDA's Office of Community Food Systems will provide information on farm-to-school concepts and available resources such as the Farm-to-School Planning Toolkit and Grant Program. I'm pleased to briefly introduce our panelists. Erin Heisom will be starting us off today. She is a program analyst with USDA Food and Nutrition Service Community Food Systems. Next, we will hear from Kelly Brew, the Farm-to-School Coordinator for Alachua County Public Schools in Gainesville, Florida. Rachel Sacco will speak next. She is the Farm-to-School Coordinator for Concrete School District in Concrete, Wisconsin. And lastly, I'll wrap up with a few announcements and then we'll close it out. During today's webinar, all attendees are muted. There will be time for questions following each speaker's presentation. If you have a question, please type it in the question box on your screen. So now, Erin, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, hi everyone and good afternoon. As Liz said, I am Erin Heisom, a program analyst at the USDA, and I'm happy to be here today to discuss planning for farm-to-school success. The Farm-to-School program is housed within the Office of Community Food Systems. Our team works to integrate community food system principles throughout all the child nutrition programs, from school meals to summer to after school and child care. When we say community food system, we are referring to a system that is larger than just serving local foods. It is an inclusive, community-defined term that targets the values a particular community upholds in relation to food security, sustainability, self-reliance, and yes, location. Generally, the term farm-to-school includes three main components. The first that everyone thinks of is local food procurement. It also includes providing in-classroom food and agriculture education. And the last piece is about offering experiential learning opportunities, such as giving children an opportunity to work in school gardens or to get their hands in the dirt in greenhouses or by visiting farm field trips. So you can see here, Benjamin Franklin is credited with saying, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. And I'm sure you've heard this or some iteration of this quote before. Alan Lakin, a well-known author on personal time management, is credited with a very similar saying that is, failing to plan is planning to fail. Regardless of the quote or who said it, the message is the same. Planning is an essential component of any successful endeavor. So that brings us to today's focus and what we're going to talk about, planning for farm-to-school success. Throughout this webinar, we will discuss the importance of strategic plans by highlighting the key components of the USDA Planning Toolkit, identifying resources that support operators as they develop and grow their farm-to-school programs, and by discovering the creative ways that the districts are planning for farm-to-school greatness. So let's begin. A few years ago, to assist programs that were just starting off, my office created a resource titled the Farm-to-School Planning Toolkit. The toolkit is available online and is made up of 11 modules that are designed as worksheets to help program operators develop a strategic plan for implementing farm-to-school efforts. While some of the language is geared towards school districts, the vast majority of the information is applicable to all child nutrition program operators. And on this slide, you can see the 11 different modules that are discussed throughout the toolkit. Over the next few slides, I will walk you through Module 1, which focuses on building your farm-to-school team. However, keep in mind that each module is set up in a similar fashion. So whether or not you're talking about establishing visions and goals, or defining local foods, or menu planning, every module in this toolkit follows this format. Each section begins with an introductory paragraph that describes the importance of the module. After the introduction, there are a series of questions to get you thinking about where you have been and where you want to go. As you can see in this example, the initial team questions ask about who is already involved in your farm-to-school efforts. So who's already your partner, who are you already working with to bring in local foods or provide that education piece. The next series of questions focus more on your goals and your future plans. In this example, you are asked to identify gaps in team members, as well as start thinking about members' roles and responsibilities. What specifically is each team member going to do? Throughout the module, you will find tips to guide you through the process, and probably one of my favorite pieces are the quotes from successful farm-to-school programs. I'd encourage you to reach out to those districts and directors should you want to learn more about their program and how they got started, or if you have questions and you want to talk from school district to school district. Each module ends with a number of resources that help you as you plan for your farm-to-school program. So there's a few more places that you can go after using the toolkit. Very recently, actually hot off the presses, we converted the larger planning toolkit into this easy-to-use planning guide that you see on your screen now. It's a 4-page guide which will be available on our website within the next week, and it covers the main areas and modules that are discussed in the larger toolkit while allowing you to plan your program all the way from initiation to evaluation. There's also a sample template so you can see what a complete guide may look like. But this guide isn't only for first-time farm-to-school programs. So if you already have a program well underway, we don't want you to shy away from this resource. It is a great tool for annual planning purposes, or for programs that already exist, or for programs that would benefit from project-specific plans. Say you're wanting to plant a garden or build a greenhouse. You can use this template to kind of map out your strategies on how you're going to achieve that goal. In addition to the downloadable planning toolkit and this guide here, there are a series of webinars that bring each chapter of the toolkit to life by highlighting guest speakers who have successfully worked through the module. The webinar series is also available on our website, and it is under the resources section. Just wanted to take a quick minute and talk about goals. I'm sure most of you have probably heard this term before, setting SMART goals. It's important to set SMART goals, and that are goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. For example, setting a goal such as Acorn Lane School District will grow their farm-to-school program will make it really difficult for Acorn Lane to measure their success and really develop their program. A better goal would be Acorn Lane will increase the amount of locally sourced produce they purchase for their school lunch program by 25% in school year 2018 over the previous school year. This goal seems lengthy, but it is much more specific in that it clearly identifies what Acorn Lane intends to do. It is measurable by quantifying the amount increase the district hopes to obtain. It is attainable as they have already assessed their financial and procurement capabilities, and they know that increasing local produce purchasing is achievable. And it is relevant to their overall aim to grow their farm-to-school program. Additionally, the goal is set within a specific time frame. They said school year 2018, which makes monitoring and evaluation much easier. In addition to the print materials already discussed, the Farm to School Grant Program may help you achieve your planning needs. The Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act of 2010 authorized $5 million annually for the Farm to School Grant Program. Currently, there are 4 different grant types, including implementation, training, support services, and planning. Planning grants are intended to help schools or districts organize and structure their farm-to-school efforts by embedding best-known practices into early design considerations. Earlier this month, in the beginning of June, we announced the 2017 grantees. For this cycle, we awarded over $575,000 in planning grants to 15 different applicants. In total, 65 new grantees were awarded nearly $5 million. We are anticipating broadening the eligibility requirements for planning grants in the next fiscal year, so be sure to check the RFA when we release it in the fall. And as always, more information on our grant program is available on our website. In addition to the Planning Toolkit, guide, and webinars already discussed, we have a number of resources on our website that can help programs initiate or strengthen their farm-to-school programs. Our procurement guide, shown here on the right-hand side of your screen, is available online, as well as webinars, memos, and a variety of fact sheets covering a range of topics from school gardens to education to procurement. And for those of you who are lucky enough to be attending the School Nutrition Association's annual conference in Atlanta this year, be sure to check out Planting Seed to Grow Farm to School. It's a session that's occurring on Tuesday morning at 8:45 a.m. Joanne Kinsey, the Director of School Nutrition Services at Chesapeake Public Schools in Virginia, and Rachel Spencer, the Farm to School Regional Lead for the Southwest region, will guide participants through a variety of hands-on activities designed to provide strategies that support farm to school program development. The session is designed for participants at all stages of farm to school program development, so I encourage everyone to attend. I am certain it will be fun and engaging, and you will learn a lot from each other as well as the expert speakers. I also want to note our farm to school leads that are housed in each of the 7 USDA regions. I encourage you to reach out to these experts with any questions you may have, as well as share your success stories and insights into building farm-to-school programs. Each lead's contact information is available on our website. Lastly, here is our national office team. We work directly with our regional leads to support your efforts from the federal level, and we're always more than happy to connect you with a variety of planning resources or other planning grantees who may be able to guide you through the process as you're starting off. And so now I will take a few moments for questions, if there's any questions that come through. Okay, I have one question here. It says, I am a new planning grantee and I am required to complete a farm to school action plan. Will the planning toolkit help me complete the action plan? Yes, yes, and congratulations. Our planning grantees are required to complete an action plan as part of their grant process. The action plan mirrors the toolkit, so it will be exceptionally helpful. There are other resources mentioned that may also help you. Another question came in saying, are there any grants? So we have the planning grant as part of our Farm to School program that I talked about a little bit earlier. The next RFA should be released this fall, so the fall of 2017. That grant is specifically designed to help schools and districts who are just starting off and really want to develop strategic plans. Okay, so I don't see any other questions at this time. Thank you, everyone. I'm really excited to now hear from our school districts to learn their firsthand experience in building successful farm-to-school programs. So now I will turn the presentation over to Kelly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. I am very happy to be here to share our Farm to School program. I work for the Alachua County Public School System, and I'm the Farm to School Coordinator, and we were awarded our planning grant in 2014.
Kelly,
The Food and Nutrition
sorry.
Department.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Can you hit the display settings button at the top there and swap those two screens like we did earlier?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, here we go.
There
Is that
we go.
working?
We're good to go.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
The Food and Nutrition Department had been trying to get more local food into the lunchroom for several years, but we kept bumping into time-consuming roadblocks. The grant was an opportunity to explore and plan, and then even begin implementing a farm-to-school program for our county. Our planning grant funded a part-time coordinator, me, as well as outreach and education supplies to be used to publicize and gain support for the program. Our objectives were to establish a team, to expand procurement in the county to 20%, to complete needed assessment to determine equipment, renovation, and training needs, to develop an education and wellness program, to create and implement an outreach and education plan, and to submit an implementation plan, which is the goal of all planning grants. Our evaluation plan was pretty straightforward for the planning grant. It included surveys of students to determine baseline knowledge related to food ID, nutrition, and wellness, of lunchroom managers to get their feedback and to understand from them what might be some challenges to implementing farm to school from the kitchen's perspective, from teachers regarding school garden needs and hopes, and also challenges that they had had in the past developing a school garden program. And then qualitative data was collected to see if activities were carried out as planned, if timelines were met, and what the success was of the outreach events. Marketing was a very important part of the program from the beginning. We wanted to inform our community about the project and to gain buy-in. But marketing was also a way to develop a team of supporters who brought their own enthusiasm and skills as well as their networks into the planning. Our marketing began with contacting newspapers and television to tell them what we were planning and asking if they would help us let the community know, to attend attend farmers markets and community events, to table with information and offer taste tests of local products that would soon be served in the schools, and then to develop a social media campaign which included a Facebook page, Twitter, and a website with a blog. We learned a number of lessons in the planning of the Farm to School program that we had. The first one was the importance of networking. The emphasis on team building that the toolkit provided was really helpful. And I want to say here that the toolkit overall has been a go-to resource to us from the beginning and even now into our second year of implementation. That emphasis of gathering support, of noting where you already have folks that are involved who could be helpful, and then looking for others was really important. This photo, these are some photos of our original team members, which included a teacher, a chef, a farmer, school kitchen manager, a dietitian, the director of a local food advocacy organization, as well as the director of food and nutrition. Just bringing them all to the table at once was amazing. The farmer was talking with the chef about what grew well here, and the kitchen manager was weighing in on what the impact of preparing that particular product would be on the kitchen. When the farmer's young son chimed in with his own opinion of what kids would actually eat. It was wonderful to bring all of these people to the table, and we came away with a lot more understanding of what would be involved in bringing more local produce into the schools. We also got some very helpful feedback on how to make it less cumbersome and more rewarding for those who would be most affected. Community support has continued to grow. This list is from our Farm to School open house flyer from this spring. It includes government agencies, nonprofits, small farms, individuals, local businesses, and service organizations. They're truly our Farm to School family. Another lesson that we learned, in addition to the greater appreciation that we have of the value of networking, was that during the planning grant, it's good to expect tweaks to your project. Even though it is a planning grant, we all go into it with an idea that we presented of what we can imagine might happen and hope to happen. But often during the planning process, things change. And for us, things kind of grew in a different direction than we could have known. My first month on the job, I was contacted by a teacher from the Exceptional Student Education Department. These are students with what's called intellectual disabilities, describing a greenhouse he was raising funds to rehab at a local high school. You can see it there on the left. He thought they could grow a lot of produce in this greenhouse, and he wondered if the schools would be able to buy it now that we had this new Farm to School program that he had read about in the newspaper, and we could. So you can see in about, this is about 13 or 14 months after, the photo on the right is 13 or 14 months after the one on the left. We're in Florida, so all kinds of things grow unexpectedly here. So they raffled that down and got some new equipment, and this is lettuce and cucumbers that are growing the following spring. So the tweaking continued, and soon the project had morphed into working with these students in the Exceptional Student Education Department in a pilot kitchen project as well as a garden project. You can see we have the dietitian there on the left who's helping a student process carrots, an accessible bed in the middle that an organization provided for us so students could easily watch plants grow and care for them. And then one of our first products was late that spring, an eggplant. So we started out wanting to explore the possibility of boosting the amount of Florida produce served in schools by possibly buying directly from farms. So we had in mind some kind of aggregation and packing facility. But we ended up turning into something much more. These are some of the students that we work with on a daily basis at the Farm to School Hub. What we ended up with was a Farm to School to Work Hub. This is a collaboration between two school departments, the Food and Nutrition Services and Exceptional Student Education Departments, with a major collaboration with the University of Florida's Family Nutrition Program. Our program provides job and life skill training for students with disabilities by giving them hands-on experience in gardening, food safety, packing, and processing. The Farm to School to Work Hub is also a training site for school gardeners, kitchen managers, and the community at large. It's a place to learn about the food system from seed to plate. The University of Florida's Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences Family Nutrition Program administers SNAP education, which is nutrition education for recipients of food stamps. Since over 51% of students in most of our schools are eligible for free and reduced lunch, our goals and clientele overlapped in a lot of ways. Our collaboration has helped both programs meet our missions to serve children the best food possible. They have provided us with a couple of employees who help manage our processing kitchen and the garden while they are teaching the children about good nutrition and the connection between healthy land and healthy food and healthy bodies. So this is really happening. This year, 25 district schools where most students are eligible for free and reduced lunches are offered restaurant quality fruits and vegetables almost every week of the growing season. This year, the second year of implementation, students at the Hub processed over 26,000 pounds of produce from local farms for distribution to 25 schools where most of the students are eligible for free and reduced lunch. Students at the Farm to School to Work Hub grew transplants and built boxes for 19 schools growing food for the lunchroom, resulting in over 3,000 pounds of additional hyperlocal produce grown right on the schoolyards for the lunchroom. We've expanded production to an acre of field production and to a hoop house in addition to that original greenhouse. We produced over 3,000 pounds of produce this year ourselves at the hub. You can see the lettuce growing on the NFT tables in the greenhouse. We produce 150 heads of lettuce a week during most of the school year. And then those are rows of greens in the field at the Farm to School hub. 163 students and teachers visited the hub this year. Students on field trips rotate through chores, discovery centers, harvesting, composting, and storytelling centers. The Family Nutrition Program is on hand to help them create a snack from their harvest while they receive a nutrition lesson about choosing healthy fruits and vegetables. The end result is more local food in the lunchrooms. We are up to 23% of all produce purchased is Florida grown this year, which is up from 5% when the planning grant began. These are students. I took these pictures this spring. Blueberries grow really well in Florida, but our students rarely get a fresh blueberry because of the expense, but we are able, through a Harvest of the Month program, to purchase these late blueberries from local farms on a one-time basis. And you can see the smiles of the student trying out a blueberry as well as a Florida peach. So this is what happened after our planning grant. We're now in the second year of implementation, the fourth year since we started exploring the program, and we now have a viable Farm to School to Work hub. Are there any questions? I have a question about suggestions for tips for procurement. Getting farmers to sell and deliver to schools is difficult. In Buffalo, New York, where this person is from, we have a short growing season, which makes school gardens challenging as well. Yeah, we are very fortunate in Florida, or my part of Florida especially, to be able to, that our school year matches the growing season for the most part. So that's super helpful. I know that other schools in other districts can work with farmers at different times of the year and also generally freeze more produce than we do, although we're growing the capacity to do that as well. Procurement is one of the most challenging parts of the Farm to School program, and I've learned a lot from my connection with both the USDA grantors and the Farm to School network. We're all learning as we go and connecting with the purchaser in our school system about the best ways to do that. I know there'll be upcoming webinars on procurement, but it is something that we've been able to do. We've been able to work out a food safety process that allows local farms to sell to us as well. Are there any other questions? One question says, does food coming from local farms for these programs need to be USDA inspected? That depends on the school system. Right now, we do not require, the USDA doesn't require GAP inspections or third-party audits, but the school system may. The Farm to School network, we've been able to use some of their food safety checklists that are built on GAP checklists, and we have gotten a lot of expertise from the University of Florida in helping us make sure that the farms that we are working with have very good food safety practices, and we've been developing our own food safety practices as well here at the hub. Do you have a method for connecting schools with SNAP-Ed in certain areas? We were actually approached by SNAP-Ed asking if we would be able to work with them, but I think going through your local universities to see if they have these kinds of connections with that program is the way to find out. There are a number of other organizations, though, that, I mean, this is such an important thing, connecting healthy food with kids who are at such high risk for developing food-related diseases in the future. So the county health department has been really helpful to us. We have Florida Organic Growers here in our town. There are a number of people working on this. And as you develop your program and start to meet with people, asking them who else to meet with will likely lead you to those folks. There's a question about informal procurement that I think may be a little bit too long for this particular question and answer period, but I know that you've got lots of resources here to be able to help you with it, and you're right, there's a level of purchasing that is small enough that you don't need to do a formal bid, and informal procurement is how we've been able to get started on our farm-to-school process. We aren't purchasing food for all of our schools, only a portion of them, and that way the purchase has been small enough to help us practice in a way these procurement methods. So you're right, it's the informal procurement method of asking for 3 farms is definitely possible and a great way to get started. You just need to ask your own school district what that limit is for a smaller purchase. I've got one last question, I think. Were there any pushbacks from the administration or community? And if so, how did you combat those? I think whenever you're starting something new, you're going to run into challenges like that because it's new and you're human. The pushbacks from the administration were not as big as you might think. We very quickly, I think, connecting with other departments in the schools, doing that very quickly and creating this program that benefited the students in a number of ways through getting them fresh food, by giving them nutrition education, by connecting with their academic work, by helping teachers. The more that you can get involved with the entire school system, I think the better it is for everybody, and it becomes more sustainable because it's not just one thing. As far as the community goes, we have a huge amount of support. I think it's hard not to love Farm to School. You know, supporting local farms and getting fresh, healthy food to children who are in need. That's a pretty popular program, and I think usually folks are really happy to find how they'll be able to support it. Okay, I think that's all that I have time for. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to Rachel. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. Let's see. Thanks for having me today to present. I am the Farm to School coordinator for the Concrete School District, and it's a partnership between the United General Hospital District 304 in Skagit County and the Concrete School District. So how did a rural hospital district become involved in a Farm to School program? In 2012, United General received a 3-year grant for physical activity and nutrition. It was a community transformation grant from the CDC to promote active living and healthy eating. And through this grant, there were a bunch of assessments that were done of the need, interest, and readiness within the Concrete School District to implement strategies to address healthy eating and active living. And over the years, Farm to School was identified as a key strategy. And part of the community transformation grant was to create a wellness advisory team. And this team really looked a lot like a Farm to School advisory team. And so as they were IDing opportunities for increasing student access to fresh local foods and Farm to School became an option, they were in place to become the Farm to School advisory team when we received a Farm to School planning grant in 2013. So our planning grant funded a part-time coordinator who was actually employed by United General. One of the real strengths of our program is our relationship with the school district, and though the school district applies for the grants and receives the grants, the coordinator has been housed at United General and supported by the administration of United General. The wellness team became the Farm to School advisory team and added new partners, including farmers. And then we began to ID opportunities for using local and regionally sourced foods in the school meals. Our planning grant year was really a lot of looking at what Farm to School could be. The coordinator did a lot of research as to what Farm to School looks like around the nation and what strategies would work in concrete. She began to engage local farmers, and I'll talk a little bit more about how she did that. And she coordinated some kitchen staff workshops for our food service staff because we wanted to make sure that they were prepared. Early goals were to transform an unused portable on the elementary campus into a farm-to-school classroom because we did not have a administrative space on the campus, nor did we have any kind of infrastructure at the school. And we needed a space to be and to identify as our own. We initially wanted to provide container gardens for each elementary classroom to complement but not compete with activities that were occurring in the community garden in Concrete, which was just a walk away from the school. And this was largely because the community garden was a very important part of our community, and members of our advisory team were also coordinating that project. And they didn't want to steal the thunder of the community garden by building a school garden. And this is the kind of thing that was a challenge for us as a farm-to-school team, because it seemed like school gardens are a natural and important part of farm-to-school. And our community just didn't quite get why we would have to have a garden on the campus. We have since built a beautiful school garden, and I have some pictures later in the slideshow. But it's an example of how sometimes your goals differ from your communities, and how if you just give things time, sometimes they can come around to it, and there's a compromise that's possible. We wanted to develop an annual schedule of farm-to-school milestone activities or field trips for elementary students. We wanted to reach all of our elementary students. We are a small rural district, and our elementary school has 280 students in it, and we felt like that was achievable for us. And then we wanted to develop a program to allow high school students to earn credits while working in the school district kitchen. And it was nice to look back on our goals that we set in 2013 and 2014 and see that this was already on our radar, because as we have grown the program over the last 3 years, this has come back. It wasn't something that we could achieve early on, but it is very much a part of what we're looking ahead to now. We wanted to establish a 5th season volunteer effort to harvest, process, and store local produce for the cafeteria. This has never happened, and I think that just reflects the strengths of our programs, and that this wasn't something that was going to really add anything to our school district's farm-to-school effort, because of our location and because of the volunteer base that we have. They're more interested in other things, being with the kids in the garden, educational opportunities, and just because of the way that we've approached farm-to-school in the cafeteria. And then to continue integrating farm-to-school into the Concrete Summer Learning Adventure Day Camp. And we had this amazing 5-week day camp that United General ran every summer for the Concrete kids. And we've used it over the years as a pilot space for any farm-to-school effort. Because it's a USDA summer meal site, and because our food service director happens to be the cook for that program, we've been able to test out different recipes, test out different ways of walking kids through a lunch line. We've piloted composting after the meals, piloted using real silverware, which the school had never used, and all in a kind of a safe space with less kids. So she got to try everything out without committing to trying to do it with the whole district on the first day of school. So that's been a really, really strong space to try things. And more goals. And this I included all these goals because there were the goals that were written during the planning grant phase. There were goals that were written after the planning grant when we were kind of working on our implementation plan. And then we kept having to morph the goals as we applied for new grants and as kind of interest and momentum changed in the community. And that's just how things go sometimes. And I think it's really important to go where there's an open door and listen to the needs of the community and make sure that you're not just sticking to a goal just for the sake of checking it off, but you're really being mindful of what the community needs and what will best serve your program. So some of these goals that have come out over the last few years, again, establish that year-round continuum of farm-to-school learning activities. That has always been central. We want to be engaging kids during the summer as well. Integrating farm-to-school concepts with the classroom curriculum. We began that with a grant that we received in 2014 from the General Mills Action for Healthy Kids program. And that was the first time that we kind of tried to bring academic content into the nutrition and gardening lessons that we provide for kids, and that's now a huge part of what we do. So that's pretty cool. We prioritize professional development for our kitchen staff, and that came at the end of the planning grant year. It was clear that if we wanted to move forward and have our kitchen staff feel like they were really a part of the team, they needed more skills, because we were asking things of them that they hadn't been hired to do. And I think it's really critical that farm to school advisory teams and coordinators who are working perhaps from a nonprofit or educational side consider what they're asking of their kitchen staff and what their kitchen staff already are accomplishing just by serving meals to thousands or hundreds of kids a day. So we wrote an implementation grant that year at the end of our planning grant, and we're funded, and we're at the tail end of that grant now. And it really focused on giving our food service director and our kitchen staff extra hours to practice prepping and procuring local produce. And then we hired a local chef / food service director from Wenatchee, Washington, to come and do a series of food service staff trainings that have been very successful and have given them hands-on experience with all of the things that they never had to do before. They've learned new recipes, they've learned how to scratch cook local beef from a local ranch, and they've served that food to the kids. And by giving them days that are dedicated to practicing those skills without the pressure of preparing a school lunch, they've really been able to come on board. So that has been a really important part of our way of approaching farm to school in the cafeteria. And then long range now, we're looking to expand the breadth and depth of farm to school in concrete by creating vocational pathways in agriculture and culinary arts for our students as they progress into high school. And we like to talk about how we're growing our program as our students grow. So as our students left elementary school, we started to look for opportunities in the middle school. And as they're leaving middle school, we're going to look for opportunities to reach them in the high school. And then we already have an audience that's committed to our program. Helpful tips, get a VISTA. AmeriCorps is an amazing program and a great way to get dedicated young leaders in your organization. I was the first year VISTA for United General. At the end of the planning grant, the hired coordinator left, and I came on as the AmeriCorps VISTA and took over her position. I think it's safe to say that our program would not have continued without AmeriCorps, because we just didn't have the funding at that time to fund a staff person. And I came in and did Harvest of the Month and Taste Washington Day, which is a statewide farm to school celebration. And then I had the time to go out and meet everybody, go and talk to farmers and spend the time with our advisory team members, and do all of that outreach that's so critical to having a successful program. And I'm happy to say that we just hired our 4th year VISTA today, and that position has just been absolutely critical to our success. We organize our program and have always organized our program in the 3 categories of cafeteria, classroom, and community. And we don't really see any one piece as being more important or preeminent over any of the others. In the cafeteria, we do Harvest of the Month, food service staff trainings, scratch-cooked, locally sourced meals. We have our summer meal program, and we celebrate Taste Washington Day. When we got our classroom approved by the school district, we immediately started teaching kids how to cook in it. Teachers bring their students over to the classroom for experiential lessons, and the school garden has been installed right in front of our classroom, so it's all right there. It's really important for us in Northwestern Washington to have an indoor space dedicated to farm to school, because it rains for like 9 months out of 12, and we really needed that roof. And then the garden really runs for the summer, maybe May, June, and then through our summer program, and then a little bit in September, October. But we are in a temperate region, and it's really important for us to have an indoor space. We're in the process now of renovating our classroom to be a beautiful and functional kitchen classroom, and that's really exciting too. Yes. In the community, we do farm field trips, community garden classes. We have a lot of community volunteers who come and support us in a wide variety of ways. And our strong partners from the community are so important to us. And it's been such an interesting journey of finding partners and seeing who shows up at the table. I would say, I've seen the questions about how to connect with farmers and how to procure local produce, and it's such a hard relationship with, in our case, a school district that doesn't have much money to spend on produce and hasn't spent much money in the food service department historically, and then farmers who are also trying to make a living on a small mixed vegetable farm and don't want to bring their costs down necessarily for a school district. And we're in a very agriculturally rich region with a strong farmers market coalition, and so farmers can sell their produce for pretty high costs at farmers markets. So what would make them want to sell it to a school? So I have done a lot of work with our food service director, meeting with farmers, talking to them about what we're doing, and then finding how they can help us. And if that means that they can sell us carrots twice a year at a cost that we can agree on, then that's what we do. If it means that they can host a farm field trip and they're not going to sell any product to the school, then that's what we do. And I find that once you get them involved in some way, they're going to want to be involved in more ways, because this is such a strong program, and the kids really speak for themselves. And so if you can get the farmer in with the kids, they do their own advocacy. These are some of the indicators that we have tracked throughout our grant processes with both the planning grant and the implementation grant. I'm not going to go through all of these. I think that they kind of speak for themselves. And I know that the toolkit goes over a lot of how to evaluate your program. These are some pictures of the school garden, so I just wanted to give you a little context for what our garden looks like. We put it in last spring, and we have 6 raised beds last spring, and that was what we did. And it was amazing and visual and great to be physically present on the school district campus, and this spring we were able to double our space. We do not grow for the school cafeteria. We just don't have the capacity, but we grow for the classes that we do with the kids and for taste tests. We get by with a little help from our friends. It has been so important to have a strong community that both does our marketing for us, because word of mouth is incredibly important in our small town, and then supports us in both financial and every other way. Our VISTA quarterly reports led to a partnership with the Kettering Foundation that sponsored community forums to identify and then find solutions for some of the big problems facing concrete. And out of that process, we've been able to refine our goals to match what the community perceives as the biggest challenges, namely employment readiness in our high school students and childcare, actually, for local families. We've worked with some interesting partnerships. Skagit Valley College has a program where professionals come back for a semester of learning about their community, and they take on a project and fundraise for it, and they are the ones who were able to implement the school garden. And then the AmeriCorps, again, have just been so important to our success. And this is a picture. Cascadian Farm Organic is located in Rockport, Washington, which is 15 minutes from our school, and they have advocated for us to General Mills and have brought in a lot of funding through the General Mills Foundation. So that has been an amazing partnership as well. So as I said, we're looking ahead. We're going to expand our Harvest of the Month program to 3 schools in Sedro-Woolley, which is the next school district over. Our implementation grant culinary trainings are now being demanded by the county, and we have to figure out how we're going to try to provide those, because I think it's so important that school district food service staff also get supported in these efforts. As I said, our portable is being transformed into a working kitchen classroom, and we're waiting to hear back on a USDA Community Food Projects grant that would really bolster our efforts to get into the middle school and high school and reach those students as well. And we're looking, because of the community need for students to have job skills, we're looking at various innovative ways to work that into farm to school in our local economy. Any questions? So, was a school garden always a part of the plan? So like I said, a school garden was not a part of, well, it was a part of my plan initially. When I started working for Farm to School, I thought it was natural that we should have a school garden. But there was some pushback from our community on that idea. It's interesting when you receive that, but I see now that the timing wasn't right, and we needed that team to help us do the work to implement it. I think you can do Farm to School without a school garden, though, and I think that's a really important thing to recognize. And you can look in your community and see where else you can get students that gardening experience. And for us, that was in the community garden in Concrete, and by working with classes to take them up there, and then going on field trips to local farms. And eventually we did get the school garden, and it was really exciting. Do you have information about creating a teaching kitchen? So the portable that we got from the school district happened to have a little kitchen in it, and we just started going with what we had. And then last spring, I was fortunate enough to attend the Edible Schoolyard Academy in Berkeley, which I highly recommend as professional development if you're starting a farm to school program. And that really made me see what was possible in our space. And when I came back, we started talking about how we could do that. And we have been historically grant funded, and so we needed to find some money to sponsor that. And that really was the catalyst for our first big fundraising campaign. And this spring we hosted a benefit dinner and raised the money to do the renovation on the portable. So if you're looking for information about creating a teaching kitchen, I would really look at the Edible Schoolyard. You can go onto their website, and in their resources they have a whole kit on how they did their kitchen and the reason they set it up the way it's set up, which is very helpful. And then, yeah, that's a really great place to start. And let's see. Well, I think I'm going to pass it over to Liz to wrap us up. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Rachel. I would also like to thank our other great panelists for sharing their information, and thank our audience for listening in. Before we conclude, I have just a few announcements. Let's see here. There we go. All right, upcoming Team Up events are planned in Iowa, Tennessee, and Alaska during July and August. Be looking in the near future for Team Up for School Nutrition Success that's designed specifically for site managers. And USDA and ICM will present Team Up pre-conference workshops at SNA's annual conference in Atlanta next Saturday, July the 8th. Workshops are designed for state agency personnel and school nutrition directors. We would also love to have you come by and visit our booths during the conference. And remember that all of the webinars are recorded and can be viewed on the Team Up for School Nutrition Success website at www.theicn.org/teamup. And state snapshots that provide a summary of Team Up events are also available on the website. This concludes our Team Up Thursdays webinar. Thanks again for your participation, and have a great day.